Hello and welcome once again to the Tuesday Checklist, the show which, surprise, actually comes out on a Wednesday. Although if you're a regular viewer of the channel, that probably won't come as much of a surprise at all. What might come as a surprise, however, are these moments in video games we're about to talk about. Moments in video games that were so surprising, they shocked us to our very core. Nathan is up first, and you're going to want to strap yourself in for this one.
So my surprising video game moment that shocked me to my core, these don't happen very often anymore because I think I'm incredibly old now. And
you're a husk.
I'm a husk.
An emotionless husk.
And we don't have cores as husks. So this is from a while ago, and it's a moment from a game where just conventional things were happening. This is something that happened to me in 2007 in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. So, I mean, for those who don't know, this was probably I feel like there was a period of time when everyone knew, and now increasingly I feel like because people keep growing, they keep making new people, and they keep on growing. So there's people who don't know now. Call of Duty 4 changed everything in terms of shooters. And it did it in the multiplayer side, and the reason that online is like it is now, the reason that everybody knows what XP is, that is because of Call of Duty 4. But it also changed stuff on the campaign side. It brought what had been a World War II dominated first-person shooter genre into the modern age with Modern Warfare, and it was kind of slick and exciting, and it had like these exciting quotes, and some of them were about how war was great, and some of them were about how it was bad. It was so clever. And then within the game itself, it just did some stuff that you hadn't seen before. And then, so really, really early on, there's a level called the Coup, and you're just like, it seems really cinematic. They were doing unusual things, taking you out of, it's not like a corridor run and gunner. You were president of a Middle Eastern country, and you were just in a car, you're not really sure what's happening. Everyone seems very angry. And at the end of that, this is the build-up to my moment, by the way. At the end of that, you get out of a car and you're put against a wooden pole and you're shot in the face, and you don't even have a gun. And you're kind of like, why? Was that fun? Am I still playing a game? But the moment that shocked me was, that was the setup. That was the kind of context. And you're like, okay, this game is doing some really interesting things, but maybe it's done its little moment. After the Coup, there's a level called Shock and Awe, where you're going into that same city. There's now unrest everywhere. There's like an Apocalypse Now moment. I think one of the levels later on might even be called Charlie Don't Surf. But you're like, you're gunning from the side of a helicopter. Everything's blowing up. You have like the weight of the US military behind you. You feel enormously powerful. You've seen this on TV a million times. Like, that was very much the vibe in 2007. Like, I've seen American troops go to places like this and win. Seen all the movies, and you are winning. You go in and you're trying to find Al-Assad, who's like the big bad guy, or one of the big bad guys from the game. You don't find him. You start to escape. You're told there's nuclear weapons in the area, and then you're told that a pilot who you've heard on your comms throughout the game has gone down, and you need to rescue her. So it's like this last-minute thing. You go and you find her and you grab her, and it's like, ultimate sort of danger hazard, but you're getting away, and then you take off in the helicopter again. The nukes go off, and you kind of like, there's this moment of going, whoa, thank God we're in the helicopter, because there's a nuclear explosion. And then the game's like, yeah, but the thing about a nuclear explosion is they're really big. And then your helicopter crashes, and even as it's going down, I was playing the game going, I guess I'm going back down again. Wow, I wonder what's going to happen.
Get the gun out
on the ground.
Better reload.
And then it stops, and there's another new mission just called Aftermath. And you're this guy, Paul Jackson. You crashed, and you're kind of like, wow. He's like, I'm alive. Okay, I thought maybe the nuclear bomb had done it. And you get up, and then you immediately fall back down. And there you can see the mushroom cloud, and you can see your team around you are just frying in radioactivity. Like, they're just like screaming and melting. And you just keep on pressing the X button, just like, get up, Jackson, get up. And you get up a few times. And I think it's this moment which really was the shock of, it forces you to realize, like, you're in the middle of you're very close to the center of a nuclear detonation. Even though this is a video game, you're not going to survive this, and we're going to make you play that moment, and you play it by trying to get up over and over and over again. You eventually fall down, and it says killed in action, and you're like, I've never, I mean, even though I've just been shot in the face a couple of levels earlier, I was not expecting that, and it changed the game. And I think that's why Call of Duty is still the titan that it is.
I totally agree. I don't think I can add anything. It was very well told, but just like I just remember distinctly just sitting for ages afterwards, like pausing the game, just thinking for ages, like, did I do that wrong? Like, you know, that you're so used to being the hero, and so I think it's so smart, like you said, that they don't just show you that you're dead or have you die right away in the helicopter crash. Like the fact that you survive the initial crash and you kind of crawl about, and it takes ages. It takes like a minute of crawling, and you're like, what's going to happen? Is someone else going to come and save me or whatever? You're just so used to, as like the gamer or the character in the game, winning. Eventually, somehow you're going to win. And it just goes no. And also, it was just an amazing moment.
Helicopters in first-person shooters are safe. They're the safe space.
They're safe places.
They're like you've done the level. You're in the helicopter. Well done. And it's like you can't. It's like no. It's against the rules. That's against the language of first-person shooters to take you from your end of mission helicopter and to be like, actually no.
I thought it was just about shooting.
That's the trick. It is.
Well, my entry's from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and there's this mission called Shock and Awe, where I just really associated with the character Paul Jackson, like David Jackson, but Paul? No, not really, although that is an amazing bit. I'm going to the other end of a game, I'm going to the start of a game, and I suppose it was shocking for similar ways, really, and the start of that game is Mass Effect 2. Right off the back of Mass Effect 1, you've had this amazing adventure, it's a big success, hooray, and I was so looking forward to Mass Effect 2, and, you know, the very first thing you do is you're back as Commander Shepard, you're back on the Normandy, in this place of great success where you've built this team and you've had this story and it's amazing. I think the very first sort of conversation you have in the game is just talking about how great you are and, like, you know, amazing success, and suddenly the collectors attack, and it's kind of out of nowhere, and in the naivety again of just thinking I know how games go, I was like, this is cool, like, wow, an action sequence right at the start. There is no danger here. Like, you know, this is the start of the game, and some people haven't played the first game at all, so, you know, I don't know how it's going to go, but I'll enjoy playing this kind of, like, maybe there'll be, you know, maybe there'll be, like, a button press, or maybe I'll get to press R2 or something, but I'm going to be fine. And the scale of the attack is massive, and the Normandy is absolutely getting ripped apart. And still, I was just like, this is all going to be okay somehow. You know, I started to worry that maybe the Normandy wasn't going to come through it. In no way did I expect what happens to happen, which is that you get everybody safely off. Apart, well, not everybody. There are some dead people. But most everybody, all the important people, get safely off, and you don't make it, and you're thrown into space, and just like with Modern Warfare, like, I was just like, okay, so now what? What's going to happen now? Because, like, Shepard can't die. This is the start of the game, and Shepard is my character, and I'm assuming there's a long adventure to have. I'm like, have I done it? Have I done this wrong? Did I not? Is this just a very long "you failed" screen? Was I supposed to do something on the Normandy? Was I supposed to do something quicker? What's going to happen? And you just watch Shepard suffocate whilst just drifting through space. It's absolutely brutal. And the whole thing, it turns out, is an incredibly smart way to allow new players into the franchise, really, because then you are kind of cloned almost, and it's a way for the game to allow you to adjust your appearance, to adjust your, you know, your gender and whatever, and all this stuff, and create your Shepard. But I could never have seen any of that coming. Like, you know, the hero character, like the central hero character, your character, just at the very start of the game, just dying like that. It was just absolutely shocking. I had no idea it was coming, and no idea how they were going to make it okay. And they managed to make it okay in, like, the best possible way, like a really pleasing way. Like, I like that it's part of the story. It's like an amazing history to that character now. You know, it's not just it's part of their story, and it's just. Is it really, the same
really character though? Because you know, I never played Mass Effect 1. I tried to play Mass Effect 2. That happened. I was so confused, and then I was like reconstituted atom by atom, and I was like, this is weird. I'm playing a sort of a weird empty clone body.
You know, Nath, that all of your, like, there's no cell in your body that's an original cell. So
are you saying I'm
any
a broom?
of us like?
Are you saying I'm a broom, Dave? How
like
dare you?
You're only 7 years old at most. Like that's the oldest cells you have in your body or something. So are any of us like?
Did you
ourselves?
get that? Is this line in
What
the game?
is life? Who are we?
That's what you wake up to. Shepard wakes up like, I'm 7. It's seeing that pipe when like you're in space floating through, and you see Shepard's pipe like with the air coming out, and they can't grab it, and their hands are at the back like
That like fear.
It's horrible. It's done so well because you think, oh, surely they will grab it and reconnect it, and then you just watch them float into the gravity pull of a nearby planet and slowly descend to their death.
Yeah, it's
really,
amazing.
really, Shepard's fine though, because you Shepard's in the whole game still.
yes. I mean, but is it the same Shepard? That's
yes,
kind of
it is.
It is Shepard's
Anyway.
body, though. Shepard's body's covered in scars. That's the whole thing. So it's not even a reconstitution. It's just that you're covered in like.
It's just.
I thought they found one cell and put you in a centrifugal machine, and you came out. You know what I mean? They grew you like a little hamster in there. I didn't really pay attention.
Anyway, Mass Effect 2. What an amazing moment! I never saw it coming, and it gave me pause to think. Yes.
So a video game moment that shocked me to my very core and surprised me and like just threw me all over the shop was Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, which is the PlayStation release, which I think anyone would agree with who has played the game or heard about it or read about it a little bit, because it's not what you expect. The whole thing is designed to be completely different to what you expect and kind of pull you in on loads of false pretenses. So I kind of approached this knowing that it was going to be a psychological horror game. Because I've heard about it before. I know like scary stuff happens in it, all that sort of thing. But the whole presentation of it is that it's a dating sim. So
well, I was going to say, right, this is the dating sim. Because I don't know anything about this. So I'm already surprised.
Well, let me tell you why it is
now
shocking.
I understand why you were playing it.
Yeah. So basically, it presents itself as a dating sim, and you are in a poetry club with a bunch of cute girls, and you've got to pick which one you want to date, and like write them poems, and just have like a lovely time. So it's like kind of like plays out like a visual novel, where it's lots of writing and talking, and not so much choices until you kind of get a bit further in. So it's a lot of talking, and you have these 4 girls. There's Monica, who's like the leader of the club and is like, welcome, come on in. There's Sayori, who's your best friend, who takes you to the club and is like, come on in. And then there's Natsuki, who is like super like aggressive and is just like, ugh, but in a cute way. And there's Yuri, who's like the bookworm, who's like, oh, I'm very shy. And you've got to kind of like, and you have the choice of Sayori, Natsuki, or Yuri as you go through and write poems. And it's just this like very twee, just talking to girls, having a nice time, and picking which one you want for most of like the first act of the game. So you get really into a false sense of security, being like, ooh, maybe I'll talk to Natsuki about her cupcakes, or maybe I'll like write a really nice poem for Yuri because she loves fantasy and she likes horror. So you start doing all that and getting to know them, and it's great. And it gets to a point, like if you start, I think the first clue is if you start writing poems for Sayori, the words that kind of, because the poem minigame has loads of words and you kind of pick your word and then it kind of creates a poem for you. You don't see your own poem, you see their poems, but you just kind of pick words that as if you're writing one. And all of Sayori's are really, really like miserable. And she presents as like this super outgoing, happy, wants everyone to have the best time. And all of the words that you pick for her poems are like sadness, grief, like depression, all that sort of thing. Which I guess if you're thinking at this point, you're like, maybe something's not quite right here. But you know, I was writing poems for Yuri. I had no idea. I was like, that's fine, Yuri, my fantasy horror bookworm. That's fine. I'll write you a poem. And it gets to a point where Sayori starts talking to you, and she's like, oh, you know, like, do you like me, or do you want to go out with Yuri, and all this sort of thing. And you just think it's like a normal conversation. And as time goes on, and like whoever you've kind of flirted with the most are going to come to your house for the weekend out of Yuri and Natsuki, you go to Sayori's house next door, and she kind of opens up to you and tells you that she's like really struggling with mental illness, basically, that she's like really having a hard time, and it really hits you in the face. You're like, oh my god, because she comes across so happy, and you get this moment. And this is all a really long build up to the actual shocking moment, which is when the game flips and it's no longer a dating sim, and essentially it all comes to a head because you go into Sayori's room again, and like she's dead. She's died by suicide, and you're kind of faced with the image, and then the game breaks and you have to start again, and the whole thing is glitched. And everybody goes mad and starts like being really obsessive and weird and aggressive. The characters start moving everywhere like when they're not supposed to. All the sprites are broken. The poetry game doesn't work. Monica's been really weird, and it all turns out that basically it's kind of like she's like Monica is this fourth wall breaking entity that lives within the game, that is designing it to make you fall in love with her, and just kills off all the other characters or gets in their heads and makes them like hurt themselves in pursuit of making you her like number one love. And she traps you in this like galaxy room, and you sit and talk to her like forever unless you delete her from the game. And it's like, it was the most intense thing that I went through. I was like, oh my god, like thinking I was just gonna have a nice time with all these girls writing poetry, and I was like, oh, it's okay, it's a horror game, we'll see what happens. And then like after the Sayori moment, which is awful, it's so brutal, like the rest of the game is just like, there's just so many moments. Like Natsuki's neck is snapping and going all over the place. Yuri stabs herself in front of you, and you have to sit with her body for 3 days. Like just
God.
Because the game is like, oh, sorry, the script was broken. That's fine. And that just Doki Doki Literature Club plus, guys.
Wow.
But all the music's really cute, and
I'm blown away.
yeah.
That sounds amazing.
That was a really long talk about Doki Doki Literature Club, and ruined for anyone who hasn't played it. But if you have played it, you will know that it's stressful.
I've got nothing to say.
I can't say. I'm so fascinated.
Of stunned silence, I think.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really good. It's really, really good. But it's like, it's super. Like there's so many hidden files and secrets in there, and poems that you can find as well. Like there's actually loads of extra content and stuff hidden within there. And it starts getting really like meta and asking you questions about like, you know, what did you think the game was? What do you think of this? Like, and kind of it makes you question like looking at these girls in this dating sim kind of way, and that they're designed to like fawn over you and stuff, and starts questioning all the confines of the genre it is. So like it's just really, really clever as like a fourth wall breaking thing, as well as a devastating emotional experience that makes you question things about like, you know, anxiety and depression and obsession and all that sort of thing. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. It's very stressful, but it's very good.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I both really want to play it, and I'm really glad that you have done and have just told me about it, so that I don't have to. Sounds incredible. That's amazing. I am shocked.
Yeah.
To my core.
Yeah.
Giving me pause.
Yeah.
Mine is an entry that would absolutely not shock me to my core now, because it's such an obvious twist. It's such an obvious plot twist when you look back on it. But when I first experienced this twist when I was 12 years old, it absolutely shocked me to my core. And it's in Metal Gear Solid, when it turns out that the whole time Master Miller has actually been Liquid Snake the entire way through the game. And I could not believe it. And it's ridiculous when you look at it, because he's got it's like a cartoon disguise, basically. He just has his hair tied up, and he has big sunglasses on. The entire time he's talking to you with the same voice actor that does the voice for Liquid Snake, but just a slightly different accent. And if you look back on it now, it's like, Snake. This is Master Miller. Hello. Yes. It is me. And when he eventually comes clean and reveals who he actually is, it's after he's manipulated Snake into basically activating Metal Gear, because the baddie's plan goes completely wrong in Metal Gear, and pretty much the entire game is Foxhound, that's a terrorist organisation, manipulating Snake and fooling Snake into actually activating Metal Gear because for some they can't do it themselves. And anyway, you get you have to go through this real pain in the neck bit. You probably remember it, Nathan, Dave, with a card key, and you have to make it cold, so you have to go to the cold place. Then you have to make it hot, so you have to go to the hot place. And you have to put the different shapes of this one key into all the computer terminals, and finally Metal Gear. Snake thinks, yes, I've deactivated Metal Gear, yes. But then Master Miller gets on the phone to you and he's like, thank you, Snake. Metal Gear is now activated. And it's that point, that's when the penny drops, and the audience is like, oh my god, Master Miller's, he's a Liquid, oh my god, it's Liquid Snake. But it's like a Scooby-Doo moment where Snake is doing that protagonist thing where he's like, Master, what do you mean? And he just doesn't get it. And even then it's like, Colonel Campbell comes on the phone, he's like, Snake, you've been talking to me, dear brother. And he takes his sunglasses off, and he pulls his hair down, and Snake's still like, Liquid! And he finally gets it. But when I was 12, like, my reaction was very much like Solid Snake's reaction. I was like, what's going on? And it was Metal Gear Solid was the first game I ever played that had what I would consider to be, a story. And I was riveted by it. And I think that's the first proper, like, plot twist of anything I can remember experiencing. And so it's just something that stuck. I remember exactly where I was in my dad's house. My dad wasn't watching at the time, but he had been watching me play Metal Gear, and I was like screaming, like, Dad, you won't believe it. You won't believe it. Master Miller's actually Liquid Snake. And he probably could believe it because obviously, he was a grown man who'd probably seen past the stupid phony disguise the entire time.
I've got to say, I remember the key problem. I do not remember this betrayal, this switcheroo at all. I don't. And
I think it might be the nature of how we played Metal Gear.
Maybe because you hadn't been, obviously you weren't allowed to make codec. But I've been calling Master Miller the entire game. Like always, I was calling him for advice. And then there's even a bit when you fight Liquid Snake when he's in the helicopter. If you phone Miller during that fight, it just has like white noise and it's like not available.
That's cool.
And I didn't even playing it. I was like, I guess Master Miller's just lost his signal for a bit. Who knows why? Yeah,
he's nipped to the loo.
But yeah,
something that strikes me about this, Rob, is obviously like Nathan. I played that game like over a few hours, but because you were playing it at your dad's house, so you only went to at weekends. You were playing it over like weeks, and so like this, just that revelation after weeks and weeks and weeks must have been like 10 times as amazing.
It was, it was pretty amazing.
Do you remember what it was like playing the game again, like the next time, and then
I do, and
watching?
And it was so obvious, like it was so obvious, so obvious. But yeah, done in such a wonderful way. But yeah, I'll always remember that.
Love it. Shocking.
There you have it then, video game moments that shocked us to our core. Let us know what you would pick in the comments, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell if you haven't already, so you never miss anything from the world of PlayStation. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you again soon.
PlayStation